Alright, we're going to look at some more arrays, but this time with strings, and kind of how we can swap those places in the strings for the elements, using like teachers as an example. So let's say you're doing like a course change, or so your teacher is going to be swapped the blocks or something. So we'll do let teacher, so we're going to initialize our array, and we're actually going to populate it to start here. So we'll have Gerla, so myself, maybe some other popular last names, so like Smith maybe you might have, or Johnson, or let's do one more like Chan. Okay, so now we've got some like popular last names, and what can we do with these? So I hit run just to make sure nothing's wrong. And first I want to make sure everything goes through the console log. So just doing a for loop again, because we're going to have to get really used to that. So for, and we're going to let I equal 0. And that's an O. And I'm going to go, I want I is less than. Now last time I counted, like I said, like, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, so I want to go through it 4 times. There's actually a much more efficient way, and I'll show you why in a second. If we go teachers, dot, so that's our array, and dot length. And what this does is it gets the length of our array. So right now it's 4 long, so there would be like a number 4 here. What's nice though is if I change this to like get rid of Chan, well, now this goes back to a length of 3. So if your array changes the size, then this will always work. And that's where this benefit of this is. Now we want the I to increase by 1 each time, so we're going to go plus plus. Right. And I just want to console.log it. So last time we talked a little bit about this. Again, if I just put teachers, it's going to console log the whole thing each time. I want each element, but not the same element each time. So for instance, if I say, okay, I want element 0 or from index 0, it's just going to keep on doing Gerla over and over again. I want this to change. What's changing in our loop is the I variable. So the first time it goes through, it's 0. Second time it's 1. Third time it's 4 and so on, or 2. So I'm going to put an I here because I want this to change depending what this is. So hit run, and there you go. It's iterating through all of them. Now if I change this to 1 to start, it will run still. It's just going to skip me because I am element 0. Okay, so there we go. It's console logged. Now what I want to do is I want to switch places of the teachers now. So I'm going to keep this for loop at the bottom just so I know what's actually working or not working. And I'm going to use a temp variable. So that's what I'm going to call it, temp. And I'm going to hold the place of myself. Okay, so I'm going to hold index 0. So I'm going to be teachers, and I want it to equal whatever's in index 0. And I'm also going to, so now I'm going to assign index 0 to have a new name. So teachers, I want index 0, and I'm going to assign it to be one of these other teachers. Let's do like Chan. So I'm going to switch places with Chan. So teachers, now that's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. So index 3. And then finally, so at this point, if I log it, we should see that Chan is here and here, because now I've assigned 0 to be the same as 3. Let's just see what that looks like. Yes, Chan is here and here now. Perfect. But now I want to put myself back where Chan was. So how I can do that then is I'm going to go to teachers, and then I'm going to assign Chan's old position or old index, which was 3, to be the temp variable, which is where I was. So now if I run it, you can see now I'm at position or index 3. So that's looking good. So far so good. Now I could make this into a function so that I could switch anybody anytime I wanted. So we can bring back the functions, work with arrays as well. And I'm going to call it a swap. Make 2 parameters. So I need the initial teacher and the teacher they're swapping with. So I'm just going to call it index 1 and index 2, because maybe this isn't about teachers. Then we got our curly braces, our braces. I'm just going to tab this over. And I think because we've defined this inside the function, that should be good. Teacher 0 though was we're going to say is our index 1. And the teacher they're swapping, so that's also index 1. And the teacher they're swapping with is index 2 then. So we got index 2 and index 2. Okay, so now nothing should work because we haven't called the function. So we're back in our original one, which is good. So I'm going to go swap. And now I'm going to try swapping Smith and Johnson. So Smith is index 1. So I want 1 to swap with 2. So we should see that it works still. It does. Now Johnson and Smith are switched. We could note though, it doesn't matter if the indexes aren't in order, it should still work. And yes, they're still swapped. And now I have a function written that can always swap 2 different elements in an array. I think, no, there's one more thing I want to look at actually. So now we've done the swap, and I'm just gonna, no, you know what, I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna do one more for statement, and I only want to print out certain teachers. So printing out certain teachers. And what I mean by that is something that defines each one of these elements. So for instance, I could just print out the ones that have the letter A in them. So let's do that. So again, we're going to use a for loop, and we're going to go search for this. So it's kind of like a search function. So the for loop is the same. Let I equal 0, where I is less than. So again, teachers dot length. And that again is the length of this array. So it's 4 long. So you can imagine right now this is really just 4. And then we want it to go up each time we go through the loop. Okay, so what do I want to happen? I'm going to use an if statement. So I'm going to say if, and then we're going to do teachers, and let's just do 0 to start. So if the teacher in element 0, and this is new to you, dot includes, meaning in that element has something, I'm going to give it some space here, and I'm going to look for the letter A. So if this element includes A, I want to print it. And I guess I don't even really need this for loop here. This will make this simpler yet to start. So just if the teacher in element 0 includes A, then what do I want to happen? So then I want it to print, sorry, not print, console.log teacher 0. So we should see that Gorilla is double printed here. That's going to be a little confusing, so let's get rid of this for statement. Let's just get rid of all this. Okay. Teacher is not defined because it's teachers. There we go. So it did include A, so therefore it printed. But if I go to index 1, so that's Smith, Smith does not include A, does not have A in it. Now this could be a longer string as well. So if I go to, what's one that's both? I could do like ON. So then Johnson should work. So if I go and say, hey, if teacher in element 2, index 2, which is Johnson, the third person, then I want you to print their name. There we go. Now what I hope you notice is every time we're just changing this. So that tells me that if I want to keep on doing this search, and this is what's changing, I'm going to use a for loop. And I'm having to I would have to retype a lot of code, which is not what I want. So I can use a for loop. So for I equals 0, where I is less than the length of this array, then every time we're increasing I by 1, like I said, these are the things that we're increasing each time. So I'm just going to want this to be I, because that's what's increasing each time in our for loop. Now I could change this to a different variable. It could be JA, whatever you want it to be. So let's see what happens there with ON. So here it only printed ON because Gorilla, Smith, and Chan do not satisfy that. But if I put A, it's going to print out 2 names. So it'll print out Gorilla first because I starts at 0. So it tests, is teacher 0 include A? Yes. So then it's going to print out teacher 0. Then it's going to go back. Does teacher 1, which is Smith, include A? No. So that's it. It's done. It goes back to the top of the loop. Then we go to teacher 2. Does teacher 2 include A? No. So Go back to the loop one last time. Does teacher 3 include a? Yes. So then we print teacher 3 out. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. And that's the end of our teacher example.